The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber hissed open, and Ambassador Mark Thompson stepped inside. The circular room stretched wide before him, filled with representatives from 20 different star systems. Each species sat in their designated section, some breathing methane, others requiring water tanks, and a few existing as pure energy behind containment fields. Mark had been Earth's ambassador for only 3 years. Humanity itself had joined the Galactic Council just 2 decades ago, making them the youngest members by thousands of years. The other species often reminded them of this fact. "The emergency session is now in order," announced the Krex delegate, a massive creature with 4 arms and scales that shifted from purple to black. The Krex Empire controlled 30 systems and commanded the largest military fleet in known space. When they spoke, others listened. A hologram materialized in the chamber's center. It showed a dying star, pulsing with unstable red and orange flares. Near it orbited a blue-green world, remarkably similar to Earth. "This is Vora Prime," said a thin, graceful being who stood up slowly. The Voron representative had pale blue skin and large, dark eyes that held deep sadness. "Our star is dying, not from natural causes, but from an ancient weapon that activated by accident. We discovered it while mining our moon. We didn't know what it was until too late." The chamber fell silent. Mark leaned forward, studying the data flowing across his screen. 3 billion souls lived on Vora Prime. The star would collapse in 7 days. The Voron continued, his voice breaking slightly. "We need help. Our technology cannot stop this. We have sent you all our research, our resources, everything we know. Please, we beg the Council for aid." The Krex delegate stood first. General Thrak commanded attention with his sheer size and presence. "The Voron situation is unfortunate," he said, his voice like grinding stone. "But the Krex Empire sees no strategic value in intervention. Our resources are needed for our own expansion. This is not our problem." Mark felt his stomach turn. He watched the Voron's shoulders drop. Next, the Zeta Merchant's representative floated forward, their crystalline body chiming softly. "We have calculated the cost of evacuation and stellar stabilization. The return on investment is negative by 40%. The merchants of Zeta must decline. We suggest the Vorons accept their fate with dignity." The Nexus Collective spoke through their shared mind, multiple voices in perfect harmony. "We possess technology that might slow the stellar decay. However, probability of success is only 12%. Resources would be better allocated to studying the phenomenon from safe distance. Knowledge gained from observing the extinction could benefit future civilizations." One by one, the other major powers refused. Too expensive. Too risky. Too far. Not their problem. Mark stood up. His hands shook slightly, but his voice remained steady. "Earth will help." The chamber erupted in surprised clicks, whistles, and rumbles, the various sounds of alien laughter. "The humans?" General Thrak's scales shifted to an amused yellow. "Your entire fleet is 3 ships. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You still use fusion reactors, for Void's sake." "We have 3 ships, yes," Mark replied. "And we'll send all 3. The Zeta representative chimed in. "This is illogical. You could lose everything. Earth gains nothing from this action. We gain the knowledge that we tried," Mark said. "That when 3 billion souls cried for help, we answered." The Nexus Collective buzzed with confusion. Emotional response. Irrational. Humans will learn the cost of sentiment. Mark activated his communication device, connecting directly to Earth's orbital command. "Admiral Walker, we have a situation. I'm sending coordinates for Vora Prime. How fast can you mobilize?" A firm voice responded through the chamber's speakers, making sure everyone heard. "Captain James Walker here, Ambassador. The USS Pioneer, USS Hope and USS Courage can launch within 6 hours. What's the mission? Saving a world, Captain. Against impossible odds. There was barely a pause. Understood. We'll pack extra supplies. Walker out. The Voron representative stared at Mark with those large, dark eyes now filling with tears. You don't even know us. We have no alliance with Earth. Why? Mark walked over to the Voron and placed a hand on his thin shoulder. Because 20 years ago, when Earth sent its first message to the stars, only one species responded with welcome instead of warnings. That was you. But even if it hadn't been, even if we'd never heard of Vora before today, the answer would be the same. He turned to address the entire council, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. You all have forgotten something in your calculations and strategies. Sometimes the right thing to do isn't about profit or probability. It's about standing up when everyone else sits down. General Thrak laughed, a sound like breaking rocks. Humanity will learn. The universe doesn't reward heroes, little human. It crushes them. Maybe, Mark said. But we'd rather be crushed trying than live knowing we did nothing. 72 hours later, 3 small ships dropped out of hyperspace near Vora Prime. Compared to the massive Krex observation vessel already present, they looked like toys. The USS Pioneer, USS Hope, and USS Courage formed a tight formation as they approached the dying world. Captain James Walker stood on the Pioneer's bridge, watching the unstable star pulse on the main screen. Each flare sent waves of deadly radiation across the system. His radiation officer, Lieutenant Michael Brooks, whistled softly. Captain, those readings are off the charts. Our shields can handle maybe 30 hours in this environment, 40 if we push them. Then we work fast, Walker replied. He opened a channel to the other ships. Hope and Courage, begin evacuation protocols. We're going to try something stupid. Dr. Lisa Chun rushed onto the bridge, her tablet covered in calculations. She was young for her position, only 28, but her mind worked faster than most computers. Captain, I've been studying the Voron data. The weapon they triggered, it's not destroying the star. It's aging it rapidly. If we can reverse the temporal field, in English, Doctor, we might be able to make the star young again. But we'd need to get very close. Dangerously close. Walker nodded. That's why they pay us the big bucks. Well, actually they don't, but you get the idea. On Vora Prime's surface, Commander Alex Rivera led the ground team. The capital city stretched before them, elegant spires of blue crystal rising into the orange-tinted sky. But the streets were chaos. Millions of Vorans pressed toward the evacuation points, their pale faces etched with despair. Alex grabbed his translator and climbed onto a crashed vehicle. Everyone, please. Form orderly lines. We have room for everyone, but you must work with us. An elderly Voron approached, moving with obvious difficulty. Unlike the others, he showed no panic, only curiosity. I am Elder Tom, he said, his voice carrying despite its softness. I have lived for 300 of your years. Never have I seen aliens risk themselves for strangers. Why do you do this? Alex helped the elder toward a transport. Where we come from, there's an old saying, today you, tomorrow me. We help because one day we might need help too. But the Council's calculations show you will likely die. Here, maybe, but we calculate differently than the Council. Above them, the USS Hope moved closer to the star. In engineering, Robert Stone worked with his team to modify their experimental quantum stabilizer. It was meant for small-scale tests, not stellar manipulation. This is insane, his assistant, David Park, muttered while welding a new coupling. The chances of this working are better than zero, Robert interrupted. And zero is what these people have without us. On the Pioneer's Bridge, Walker received a transmission from the Krek's observation ship. General Thrax's face appeared on screen, his scales a mocking shade of green. "Captain Walker, we detect your ship's beginning evacuation. You can save perhaps 1,000,000 before your vessels are too radiation damaged to fly. Will you choose which 2,000,000 die? We're not just evacuating, General. We're going to fix this." The Krek's general's laughter boomed through the speakers. "Fix a dying star? Humans truly are delusional. We will enjoy watching you fail." Lisa had been quiet, studying her readings, when suddenly she stood up. "Captain, I'm detecting something in the planet's core. Ancient technology, far older than current Voron civilization." "How ancient?" "Maybe 1,000,000 years. Captain, I think the Vorons were once. Much more than they are now. They might have been one of the first spacefaring species." Walker frowned. "What happened to them?" "Unknown. But if their ancestors built technology that advanced, maybe they left us something we can use." On the surface, Elder Tom overheard the conversation through Alex's communicator. His dark eyes grew distant. "The old stories," he whispered. "We called them myths. Tales of when Vorons seeded life among the stars, bringing water and atmosphere to dead worlds." Alex stopped loading refugees. "You're saying your people created habitable planets?" "According to legend, yes. We gave life freely, asking nothing in return. Then came a great war, and we chose to forget our technology rather than use it for destruction. We became simple, peaceful. Perhaps too peaceful." The USS Hope reported ready. Commander Maria Santos, a pilot who had once flown rescue missions in Earth's asteroid belt, took manual control, beginning approach to stellar corona. "It's going to get hot." The ship's shields flared brilliant white as they pushed through the star's outer atmosphere. Inside, the temperature rose despite all cooling systems running at maximum. "Hull temperature critical," someone reported. "Hold steady," Maria commanded. "Robert, are you ready?" "Quantum stabilizer is as ready as it'll ever be." "But Maria, someone needs to manually adjust it once it's deployed." "The radiation will." "I know," she said quietly. "Just make sure it works." Back on the Pioneer, Walker watched the Hope disappear into the solar flames. On his tactical display, 3 more ships appeared at the system's Edge Nexus collective science vessels. "Captain," the Nexus transmitted, "we are here to observe and record. The data from your failure will be valuable for future research." Walker's jaw tightened. "Then you'd better start recording something impossible." Suddenly, Lisa shouted from her station. "Captain, the ancient Voron technology, it's responding to our presence. It's sending instructions." On her screen, diagrams appeared modifications to their quantum stabilizer that no human could have imagined. The Voron's ancestors had faced this exact problem before. "Upload this to the Hope immediately." On Vora Prime, more refugees streamed toward the transports. A young Voron child tugged at Alex's uniform. "Will the sun really get better?" she asked. Alex knelt down to her level. "We're going to try our very best." But the others said, "It's impossible." "Well," Alex smiled, "humans have a bad habit of not knowing what's impossible." The ground shook as another solar flare struck the planet's magnetosphere. Time was running out. In space, the Hope pushed deeper into the star, its hull beginning to buckle from the pressure. Maria's voice came through heavy with static. "Deploying stabilizer now." Asterisk, the quantum stabilizer erupted from the Hope's cargo bay, a sphere of impossible complexity that immediately began to glow brighter than the star itself. On every ship in the system, alarms screamed as sensors tried to process what they were seeing. "It's working," Lisa shouted on the Pioneer's bridge. "The temporal field is reversing. But wait," her face went pale. "It's unstable. Without constant adjustment, it'll collapse in minutes." Captain Walker grabbed his communicator. "Maria, get out of there." Through the static, Maria Santos's voice was calm. "Negative, Captain. Someone needs to maintain manual control. The automatics are fried." "That's a death sentence." "Then I'll make it count." Before Walker could respond, 12 massive ships tore through hyperspace. Krex destroyers, their weapons powered and shields at maximum. General Thrax's image appeared on the main screen. "Humans, you will cease your activities immediately. The Voron system has been claimed by the Krex Empire for salvage rights after extinction." Walker stood slowly. "There won't be an extinction. Your primitive technology cannot succeed. Stand aside, or we will remove you." Walker looked at his bridge crew. Young faces, scared but determined. He turned back to the screen. "You want Vora Prime? You'll have to go through us first." Absurdity of it hung in space 3 small Earthships, each a fraction of a single Krex destroyer's size, standing against a battle fleet. General Thrax's scales turned deep purple with rage. "You dare? 3 tiny vessels against the might of the Krex? Size isn't everything, General. Sometimes what matters is where you stand." On Vora Prime, the evacuation continued frantically. Elder Tong watched the humans work, these strange beings who counted lives over profit. He turned to Alex. "Commander, there's something I must show you." Tom led Alex deep into the city's ancient district, to a building that looked like it had grown from crystal rather than been built. Inside, walls flickered with symbols that hurt to look at directly. "This is the heart of memory," Tom said. "For 1,000,000 years, it has waited. We were instructed never to activate it unless—" He paused. "Unless strangers came to save us without being asked." "That's oddly specific." Tom smiled sadly. "Our ancestors saw many futures. In all but one, we died alone. In that one future, a young species, driven by emotion rather than logic, would remind the galaxy what it had forgotten." The elder placed his hand on a panel, and the room exploded with light. Information flooded into Alex's neural implant, not words or images, but pure knowledge. "My God," Alex whispered. "You didn't just seed life. You created the entire network of habitable worlds. Every species owes their existence to you, and we asked for nothing in return. That was our way. Now, it seems, it is your way too." Above them, the standoff continued. The Krex weapons locked onto the Earthships. Walker knew they had seconds before General Thrax lost patience. Then something unexpected happened. A small transport ship appeared, then another, and dozens. Independent traders, mining vessels, scientific explorers, all species humanity had helped in their brief time among the stars. "This is Captain Beck of the mining vessel Rockhammer," a gravelly voice announced. 2 years ago, humans fixed our life support for free when we were dying. We stand with Earth. Fighter pilot Lin here," came another transmission. "Humans shared their food when our colony was starving. We stand with Earth." More ships arrived. Not warships, but ordinary vessels whose crews remembered human kindness. Within minutes, nearly 100 small ships formed a protective shell around the Earth vessels. General Thrax's rage was visible even through the viewscreen. "You insects dare defy the Krex Empire?" A new voice entered the channel, the Nexus Collective. "General Thrax, we have been observing. The humans' modification is working. Probability of success has risen to 60%. Logic suggests allowing them to continue." "Logic?" Walker laughed. "No, this isn't logic. This is what happens when you choose compassion over calculation." In the star, Maria fought to maintain control. Her ship's hull glowed cherry red. Systems failed one by one. She could barely see through the heat distortion, but her hands never left the controls. "Lisa," she transmitted, "I need those ancient Voron algorithms. My adjustments aren't holding." Lisa's fingers flew across her console, translating the knowledge Alex had sent. Uploading now. Maria, these patterns, they're beautiful. The Vorans didn't fight the chaos. They danced with it. Maria received the data and began implementing the patterns. The stabilizer's glow shifted, becoming more harmonious. It's working. The star's age regression is accelerating. But she checked her panels. My shields are gone. Hull breach in 30 seconds. Walker slammed his fist on his chair. There has to be another way. Robert Stone suddenly spoke up from engineering. Captain, I have an insane idea. Those are my favorite kind. We could use our other 2 ships to create a gravity corridor, basically a tunnel through the star's corona. It would give Maria a path out, but our ships might not survive it either, Walker finished. He looked at his bridge crew. All hands, this is the captain. We're going to punch a hole through a star to save our people. Anyone who wants to leave, escape pods are available. Not a single person moved. All right then. Courage, form up on our starboard. Initialize gravitic field generators. The 2 Earthships moved into position, their combined fields creating a narrow corridor of cooler space extending toward the Hope. It was like holding back an ocean with paper walls. Corridor established. Robert announced. But it's collapsing fast. Maria, punch it. Now. The Hope's engines, pushed beyond all limits, fired one last time. The ship shot forward like a comet, racing the collapsing corridor. Behind it, the quantum stabilizer pulsed one final time. The star's color shifted from angry red through orange, yellow, and finally to a healthy white blue. The transformation rippled outward, washing over Vora Prime with gentle light for the first time in weeks. The Hope burst from the star's corona, trailing plasma and debris. Half its hull was gone, atmosphere venting from multiple breaches, but it was free. We did it, Lisa screamed. The star is stable. It's actually younger than before Vora Prime, has billions of years ahead. The Krex fleet hung motionless in space. General Thrax's image appeared again, his scales now a confused pattern of colors. This is impossible. You risked everything for nothing. No profit, no gain. You're wrong, General, Walker replied. We gained everything that matters. Asterisk, the celebration was short-lived. Medical teams rushed to the Hope as it limped toward the Pioneer. Maria Santos was alive, but badly radiation burned. Her ship little more than scrap metal holding air. But on Vora Prime, something amazing was happening. As the healthy starlight touched the planet, ancient systems began awakening. Structures long thought decorative began to pulse with energy. Elder Tom stood in the heart of memory, tears streaming down his face. They knew, he whispered. Our ancestors knew this day would come. They prepared a gift. The crystalline walls projected an image visible from orbit, a map of the galaxy, with countless points of light. What is that? Alex asked. Every world we ever touched, every species we helped evolve, all connected through quantum entanglement. A network of instant communication and transport. We hid it because the galaxy wasn't ready. Too much war, too much greed. And now? Tom looked at the humans working tirelessly to save more Vorans, even after the immediate danger had passed. Now, perhaps, there is hope. General Thrak hadn't withdrawn his fleet. If anything, more Krex ships arrived. This changes nothing, he broadcast. The Vorans possess technology beyond measure. It belongs to the strong. Walker moved his battered ships between the Krex and the planet again. You'll have to go through us. Again. Gladly. The Krex weapons began charging. Walker knew they couldn't survive a direct assault. His ships were held together by emergency force fields and hope. Then Elder. Tom's voice echoed through every communication channel in the system. General Thrak of the Krex Empire. I am Elder Tom of Vora, keeper of the heart of memory. I have a question for you. Speak, old one, before you die. Your homeworld of Krex Prime, do you know how it became habitable? Thrak's scales flickered uncertainty. It has always been so. No, 40 million years ago, it was a barren rock. The Vorans brought water, atmosphere, and the seeds of life. We asked nothing in return. We watched your species evolve, take your first steps, reach the stars. We were proud of you, as parents are proud of children. Silence filled the communication channels. Tom continued. Every species here, from the Nexus to the Zeta, exists because Vorans chose to create rather than destroy. We could have built empires. Instead, we built gardens and filled them with life. Now, at our darkest hour, only the youngest among you remembered what we tried to teach, that strength comes from lifting others, not standing on them. The map in the sky grew brighter, showing the connections between worlds. The Krex homework pulsed with the same light as Vorapron. This network, Tom announced, could unite the galaxy. Travel between worlds in seconds, not weeks. Share knowledge instantly. No more isolation, no more fear of the unknown. But we will not activate it for conquerors. General Thrak's image showed something unprecedented doubt. You would give this freely? Not to you, Tom said firmly. To humanity. They have proven themselves worthy custodians. If others want access, they must agree to humanity's condition, which is. Walker spoke up. The same condition we had today. When someone calls for help, we answer. No calculations, no profit margins. We help because we can. The Nexus Collective buzzed with rapid communication. This technology could advance all civilizations by millennia. The logical choice is agreement. The Zeta merchants chimed. The trade opportunities are incalculable. We ... We agree to the terms. All eyes turned to General Thrak. His scales shifted through a spectrum of colors: anger, confusion, shame, and finally, something like respect. The Krex have been warriors for 10,000 years, he said slowly. We have never bowed to anyone. He paused. But neither have we ever seen courage like this. 3 small ships against our fleet, ready to die for strangers. Perhaps there are different kinds of strength, his weapons powered down. The Krex Empire agrees to humanity's terms, but the universe wasn't done testing humanity's resolve. Alarm screamed across every ship. The ancient weapon that had damaged the star, it was activating again. Not on Vora Prime, but on its moon, where mining operations had disturbed other devices. It's creating a black hole. Lisa shouted. Right in the moon's core. It'll consume the entire system in hours. The evacuation ships were full of refugees. The Pioneer and Courage were badly damaged. The Hope was scrap. They had no way to stop it. Maria Santos, despite her injuries, struggled to her feet in the medical bay. The Hope still has engines. Barely, but they work. Maria, no, Walker said, overcomes. You've done enough. Captain, that black hole needs to be destabilized at its source. Someone needs to fly into the moon's core with our last quantum torpedo and detonate it manually. That's suicide. Yes, Maria said simply. It is. She was already moving, her radiation-damaged body held up by sheer will. The medical staff tried to stop her, but she pushed past them. Maria, please. Walker's voice cracked. There has to be another way. Sometimes there isn't, Captain. Sometimes someone has to pay the price so others can live. She reached the Hope's ruined bridge. I'm glad it gets to be me. Other crew members volunteered, begged to take her place. The Krex offered their fastest ships. The Nexus calculated alternatives. But Maria knew what she had seen in the stellar corona. She was already dying from radiation exposure. She had hours at most. This is my choice, she broadcast. My last choice. Let me make it count. The Hope, held together by force fields and prayers, lurched toward the moon. Inside, Maria sang an old Earth song her grandmother had taught her about stars and sacrifice. The black hole's event horizon was visible now, a sphere of absolute nothing growing inside the moon. Matter spiraled into it, creating an accretion disk that burned brighter than the star they had just saved. "Maria," Walker said quietly, "you're the best of us." "No, Captain. I'm just human." "That's enough." She piloted the dying ship into the moon's exposed core, where ancient machinery writhed with dark energy. The quantum torpedo armed. Maria's hand hovered over the detonator. "Tell Earth," she transmitted. "Tell them we kept the faith. We stood for something." General Thrack's voice, unusually subdued, came through. "Commander Santos, the Krex Empire will remember your name." The Nexus Collective added, "Your sacrifice is ... illogical and magnificent." Even the Zeta merchants chimed in. "No profit could equal your courage." Maria smiled, her vision fading. "See? You're learning already." She pressed the detonator. The explosion was visible. From Vora Prime's surface, a new star born and dying in seconds. The black hole collapsed, taking the moon with it, but the system was saved. The hope was gone. Maria Santos was gone. But 3 billion Vorans lived. 1 year later, the Galactic Council Chamber looked very different. Where once species had separated by sections, now they mingled freely. The quantum network Tom had revealed connected every world. But more than that, it had connected hearts. Mark Thompson stood at the podium, no longer just Earth's ambassador, but the elected president of the Galactic Council. The youngest species now led them all, not through force or wealth, but through the moral authority earned in Vora's darkest hour. "The human protocol," Mark announced, "has been ratified by all member species. From this day forward, any civilization facing extinction receives immediate aid from all capable worlds. No calculations, no debates. We act." Applause filled the chamber clicks, whistles, chimes, and human clapping mixing in harmony. General Thrack, now wearing a Medal of Honor given by Earth, stood. "The Krex propose an addition. All military fleets will maintain rescue ships equal to their warships. We prepare for war by preparing for peace." On Vora Prime, a monument reached toward the restored star. 3 human ships carved in crystal, with Maria Santos's name written in every known language. Children of all species came to learn the story of the day. Compassion defeated calculation. Elder Tom, now the Voron representative to the Council, regularly visited Earth. He had become particularly fond of baseball and pizza, though not necessarily in that order. "Your species confuses me," he told Walker. "Promoted to Admiral and head of the Galactic Rescue Fleet, you have such capacity for destruction, yet you choose creation. You could rule through fear, yet you lead through sacrifice." Walker shrugged. "We're complicated. But when it matters, we try to choose right over easy." The quantum network had transformed the galaxy. Medical knowledge from the Nexus Collective saved millions. Agricultural techniques from the Zeta merchants ended famines. Earth's music and art spread everywhere, while human children learned mathematics from crystalline teachers and philosophy from gaseous theorists. But the biggest change was in how species saw each other. The cold equations that had governed galactic politics for millennia gave way to something older and newer - empathy. A young Krex warrior approached Admiral Walker at the memorial ceremony. "Admiral, I don't understand. Your Maria Santos gained nothing from her sacrifice. Her genes do not continue. Her wealth was not passed on. By every measure of success, she failed." Walker looked at the monument, then at the thriving world around them. "She became immortal in the only way that matters. Every life here, every child born under this healed star, carries a piece of her forward. That's success." The warrior considered this. The humans have infected us all with your madness. Is that such a bad thing? The warrior's scales shifted to what Walker had learned was amusement. No, it's not. 6 months later, a distress signal reached the Council from beyond known space. A species called the Yoth, trapped in a dimension where physics worked differently, slowly being crushed by their collapsing reality. The old Council would have deemed it impossible, too risky, not worth the attempt. The new Council had a different response. Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of the newest ship in the fleet, the USS Santos. Around him, a mixed crew of humans, Kreks, Vorons, Nexus, and others prepared for departure. Admiral, his new science officer, a young Voron named after Maria, reported, "The dimensional barrier is unlike anything we've faced. Chances of success are minimal." "Minimal isn't zero," Walker replied. "And even if it were, what would Maria do?" The officer smiled, a human expression the Vorons had adopted. "She'd say, 'Punch it,' then punch it." 40 ships from 20 species jumped into hyperspace together, racing toward the impossible. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson, that true strength wasn't in standing alone, but in standing together, and that the most logical choice was often the one that made no sense at all choosing. Others over yourself. In the council chamber, a child from the Zeta merchants asked their parent, "Why do we follow the humans?" "They're the weakest, the youngest." The parent's crystalline form chimed thoughtfully. "Because, little one, they taught us that weakness is not about size or age or technology. The only true weakness is seeing suffering and choosing to do nothing. But the old ways were safer, more profitable. Yes, and we were dying inside, becoming machines of logic and profit. The humans reminded us why we reached for the stars in the first place, not to own them, but to share them." Back on Earth, in a small apartment in New Delhi, Maria Santos's grandmother watched the news of the rescue mission. She held a picture of her granddaughter, taken just before she left for the stars. "You did it, Mia," she whispered. "You showed them who we are." A reporter on the screen interviewed people about the mission. "Why should Earth risk so much for strangers?" he asked. An old man with a thick Russian accent answered, "Is not about should, is about must. When someone drowns, you don't calculate odds. You jump in water." A young girl from Kenya added, "My teacher says we're the galaxy's heart now. Hearts don't think, they just beat for everyone." The grandmother smiled through her tears. Maria would have liked that humanity as the galaxy's heart. The rescue mission to save the Yoth would succeed, though at great cost. 2 more ships would be lost, 1 Kreks and 1 Nexus. But 5 million lives would be saved, and the story would spread further beyond the galaxy to distant clusters where other civilizations listened and wondered. Some would come as conquerors, thinking humanity's compassion was weakness to exploit. They would learn, as the Kreks had, that humans were most dangerous when protecting others. Some would come seeking help, and they would find it always, without question or demand for payment. The human protocol became more than law. It became the foundation of a new age. Wars didn't end, but they became fewer. Greed didn't disappear, but it was balanced by generosity. Fear of the unknown remained, but it was met with curiosity instead of weapons. And in the quiet moments, when species told stories to their young, they all told the same one about the day the youngest species in the galaxy stood alone against the dark and said, "We'll help," about 3 small ships facing down an empire. About a woman who flew into a star to save strangers. About the humans who refused to let the universe be cold. Admiral Walker stood on the observation deck of the USS Santos, watching the stars. His communication officer, Lieutenant Brooks, approached with a tablet. "Sir, we're receiving dozens of distress signals from the new sectors. Colonies needing medical aid, ships trapped in asteroid fields, worlds facing natural disasters." Walker looked at the list. By the old calculus, They couldn't possibly help them all. Resources were limited. Time was finite. It was illogical to try. He smiled. Send the list to the fleet. We have work to do. All of them, sir? That's impossible. Good. Impossible is our specialty. Get me General Thrack and Elder Tom. Tell them humanity's calling in the cavalry. As the orders went out, ships across the galaxy changed course. Krex destroyers loaded with relief supplies instead of weapons. Nexus science vessels prepared medical protocols. Zeta merchants calculated not profit, but the fastest routes to those in need. The galaxy had learned the secret humanity had always known, that the only calculation that mattered was the simplest one. Someone needs help. We can help. So we will dot, and somewhere, in the quantum field that connected all living things, Maria Santos smiled. The story never ended. It just began again, with each choice to help, each hand extended, each impossible stand against the dark. This was humanity's gift to the stars, not technology or strength, but the simple, revolutionary idea that everyone, everywhere, deserved to be saved. And so they were.